Welcome back to me reading Transported A Wings of Fire story, fanfiction. This time, it's going to be chapter 25. As usual, if this is your first time watching this little series, I recommend you to watch the previous chapters or read them yourself. Now let's begin. This chapter's name is On Our Way. It was late. It was about late morning when they finally arrived back to the others. Cabley was still wearing the cloak the gatekeeper had given him. The hidden blade, which Daniel had to admit, unsettled him deeply. But he wouldn't bring it up, as for probably the first time since the mountain, Keeley seemed happy, calm, and at ease. And he wasn't about to ruin that with some off-topic question. The snow crunched under their talons as they landed. Most of the group was still asleep, except for Star, staring at the huge ice wall beyond them. Her ears perked as they landed. Without a second thought, she raised her tail into a battle poten? We love typos that make us laugh. Into a battle potion. Whoa, calm down. It's just us, Keeley said, as Spoon? Oh boy. As Spoon, as he saw this. Star's tail lowered. Oh my moons, where have you guys been? She yelled in a hushed voice. There's been ice wing patrols everywhere. I thought you guys might have been caught. Look, Daniel tried. Get down, Star yelled, as in another very hushed but stern voice. She leapt up and dragged both boys down to the ground. They hid behind a small mound as she saw a group of 4 armored ice wings land about 15 meters away from them at most. All right, soldiers, what appeared to be the head of the team spoke loudly. We've been tasked by Queen Snowfall to find some peculiar dragons, which were seen flying around this area last night, and to bring them in for questioning. Sir, yes, sir, the other guards replied. The Daniel Star. Oh boy. We love typos that make us laugh. The Daniel Star and Keeley looked back as the large group disbanded in different directions to cover more ground. Large shadows flew overhead as multiple ice wings flew off in search of them. They were being hunted. See? Star yelled in another hushed voice. We're not safe here. We need to find what we came here for and get out. She sighed deeply in annoyance. And it would help if you guys weren't messing around. What were you guys doing anyways? Daniel and Keeley both blushed noticeably, to which Star immediately picked up. She was silent for a few moments before she shot them a disappointed look. So you're telling me, Star said, without losing her temper. Uh-oh, this isn't good, Daniel whispered to Keeley, who simply looked back at him with the same we messed up expression. That I was out there trying to keep our scales from getting caught by ice wings. Meanwhile, you guys were making out. Star bellowed. A dangerous-looking blue glow started radiating from the inside of her snarling mouth. It glowed, though, as she bared her teeth menacingly at the 2 boys. Okay, we're sorry. Please don't kill us, Daniel said as he stepped back. He heard Keeley whimper slightly as he also took a step back. Do you guys have any idea how worried I was? I was about to go into the kingdom myself. Star continued to yell at them as the glow shone brighter by the second. Daniel recognized the glow. That's the same glow she was making when we fought. She's not going to actually use her frostbreath on us, right? Star, calm down, Keeley said, trying to ease the tension. Tries to ease the situation, but to no avail. But Daniel noticed something. He shivered as goosebumps crawled along all of his scales, which he didn't even know was possible. Her eyes, Daniel thought. They weren't normal. They were still the bright blue eyes they always were, and the golden pupil was a bright as ever. Okay, we love typos here that make us laugh. Was a bright as ever. However, there were lines. Claw-like lines grew from the sides of her eyes and stretched towards the center. It gave off a demonic-like appearance. But he swore that he had seen those eyes somewhere else before. However, there wasn't time to think of that at the moment. He needed to calm her down, because it was clear that she was not in control of herself fully. Look, Star, we're sorry for being reckless. That was our fault. We should have thought of the situation we were in beforehand. Daniel apologized sincerely before he added, "Please, calm down." Star was practically standing over them at this point. A bright, light blue glow illuminated the boys' faces. They covered her eyes with their talons. Wait, what? They covered her eyes with their talons. Oh, another typo. We love typos here. They make us laugh. They covered her eyes with their talons to block out the blinding light. However, Star suddenly stopped as she saw this. Daniel and Keebly looked back at her in a mix of fear and confusion. Her face was unreadable. There was definitely a lot going on than what it showed, but from what Daniel could see, it was a mix of puzzlement, fear, worry, and what appeared to be regret. However, one obvious change could be seen. Her eyes were back to normal. Something was deeply wrong with whatever just happened. Daniel started. "Are you okay, Star?" She looked back at him. This time it was her normal, innocent face. She clutched her head in pain as she breathed heavily. "Keebly, Hurricane," she said softly. "What did I do?" The boys tilted their heads at her. "You don't remember what just happened?" She shook her head. "All I remember was that I was yelling at you guys for some reason." She stopped. Then my mind went blank. Next thing I know, I'm standing over you guys, fear painted across your faces. What happened? Did I hurt you? She seemed worried and almost concerned, both for herself and probably for Daniel and Keebly, who were essentially on the ground. Nothing happened. You were just yelling at us for some time, 'cause we were being reckless. Right, Keebly? He shot him a play-along stare, which he understood immediately due to his amazing talent for reading dragons. Yeah, we kind of messed up a bit, and you were just reminding us of why we were here and the stakes at hand. Star stared back skeptically. So, what exactly did you do? Now that, Daniel said as he pointed a claw at her, is something we don't need to get into. As like you said, we need to focus on the matter at hand, finding whatever we're looking for. Keebly nodded as Daniel finished, staying true to his word to not tell anyone about what they did on their flight. Oh, okay then, Star said, although Daniel could tell she didn't fully believe what they were saying, and he could potentially foresee an explanation earlier or later. But that's the key word, later. Right now, we really do need to focus on what we can do to get what we need and get out. Daniel reached into the small pouch he had around his neck and pulled out Barrett's map. It felt fine. It felt good, finally having the map back in his talons. He would have felt really bad if he lost it. Unrolling the map, he placed a claw on the rough area of where they were. So, we're in this area somewhere. I think, at least, Daniel said, as Keebly and Star both leaned in closer to see the map more clearly. According to the prophecy, or whatever it is, below the surface of yellow and white lies a lock of rain and night. And I have no idea what that means, but we'll figure it out. And if we don't, Star asked, then what? We have to, or else Pyrea will burn, Keebly pointed out. Wait, what? You didn't say the whole world was on our shoulders here, Star exclaimed. Daniel sighed and passed her the few pieces of parchment on which they had written down the prophecy. Here, read this. It'll explain what we're dealing with. While Star was busy with the parchment, Daniel had just passed her He and Keebley studied the map to try to figure out what to do. Okay, so we could probably start where the most sand is, on the outer edges of the Ice Kingdom, Keebley said. It's probably also the safest option, considering we're being actively hunted at the moment. Agreed, Daniel said as he brought his claw to the ocean edge of the kingdom. So we can narrow the search down to just the west and north borders of the kingdom. Keeley nodded. Although, we need a plan on how to do it, since we don't even know what in the moons we're looking for. True, Daniel responded. Just then, Star finished reading the prophecy. Okay, I have multiple questions. First off, though, what the hell is a lock of rain and night? Because that's what we're looking for, right? My immersion is ruined. How would a dragon from Pyrea know what hell is? Joke aside, let's continue. Daniel cringed slightly. That's the funny part. We have no clue. Star looked at him. Oh, wow. Yeah, amazing. Just brilliant, she yelled as she flared her arms. Dragons don't have arms. They have 4 legs and hind legs. So she flared her 4 legs in the air. We have no idea where to look, no idea what we're supposed to look for, and are currently being hunted by Icewings and Keebley's siblings. There was a pause after her statement. Daniel had completely forgotten about Keebley's siblings while they were flying over here. I think we may be in way over our heads on this one. Look, Star said as she gained the attention of her peers. If we want to stay alive, we need to start getting down to business. So I suggest that we 3, she gestured her claws in a circular motion towards Keebley and Daniel, should go and search this damn place right now. Agreed, Keebley said as he stood up, preparing himself for another flight. Wait, what about them? Daniel added. We can't just leave them here without supervision. What if they get caught in their sleep? Someone needs to be here. Why can't we just wake them up? Keebley asked as he made some gestures with his talons. Then we won't have to worry about it. No, because then some of them will want to come with us, Star pointed out. And if we have a large group of different colored dragonettes practically trespassing on the kingdom, we'll stand out like a moving target, Daniel finished. Exactly. Okay, so what do we do with them? Keebley asked. Well, we only have one option, really. We need to leave one of us 3 here to watch them, Star answered. Keebley, I think you should stay. Daniel spoke up without warning. Agreed, Star added. What? Why? Keebley asked, a slight hurt face forming on his face. Why me? Because when they do wake up, they're going to want to follow us, and we can't have that. All right. But what does this have to do with me not coming along? Well, you're the only one out of us that can convince them to not follow us. Because if me or Star were to stay back, we wouldn't be able to convince them. We need you for that, Daniel explained. Plus, Star interjected, you're the one with a weapon for defense if things come to it. That wasn't something Daniel had thought of, but it wasn't wrong either. Oh, I see. Exactly. Okay, so do we have this sorted? Because we should really get going before they do get up, Daniel said, getting a little impatient. Yeah, you're all good, Star said as she turned to Keebley. Listen, just make sure that they don't follow us, no matter how much they beg, scream, or plead. You can't let them come along. Got it? Keebley nodded. Understood. Okay. We'll be back soon, Daniel said. Try not to get yourselves caught while we're gone. He shot Keebley a smile, quickly picking up the map and parchment pieces before launching himself into the sky, Star following close behind. Keebley watched from a distance as he saw his friends fly into the early afternoon beyond. They eventually disappeared beyond his view, to which he sat down. Looking up at the sky, he thought aloud, well, at least it will be peaceful for a while. However, That's when a claw tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around to meet Kinkajou's excited face. "We have a lot to talk about," she squealed. Keebly sighed in defeat. "Never mind." Daniel and Star flew slightly through the foggy clouds. It was annoying, but understandable. You couldn't see anything except what was directly in front of you, although it meant that it provided good cover from the Icewing patrols in the area. "So," Daniel said as he tried to start up a conversation. Star looked at him curiously. "So what?" Daniel tried to say something, but he fell silent instead. "Never mind. Sorry. I was just trying to start up a conversation so this flight wasn't such a bore." He groaned slightly as a small plume of fire came out of his throat. His eyes widened slightly as he tried it again. A much larger flame shot out of his mouth. "Yes!" Daniel celebrated. "I got my fire back!" Star looked at him, slightly puzzled. "You lost your fire?" "Sort of. Since last night, I haven't been able to produce any more without my throat being burned to a crisp," Daniel explained. "Well, until now, at least." "I'm not surprised, considering the massive inferno you set ablaze in the sky." True. "Tell me," Star asked, how did you even manage to do that? With a lot of patience? And a lot of tears." Daniel joked in response. "No, seriously, I've never seen anyone make anything that big, even with frost breath." "Oh, well, you could just build it up for a while in your body and then let it go. It's not that difficult." He caught Star's raised brow and then admitted, Okay, it's a bit difficult. You have to be able to handle the really painful burn that builds up. But if you can, then it's fine. Although you won't be able to use it again for a while." "I see," Star said. A bright blue glow began to beam through her teeth as she started to build up her own blast. However, Daniel shut her down before she did something she would regret. "Whoa now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves." He placed a talon on top of Star's snout, clamping it shut. "You should only use that when we need it, as you won't be able to use it again for a long time." Star groaned. "Fine." She softly blew out a snow-like fog from her mouth as the glow slowly died down. "Thanks. Trust me when I say that you should only use it in emergencies." "Whatever you say, Speed Demon." Daniel laughed. He had come to like that nickname, even if it was a bit annoying at first. Soon, both dragons exited the cover of the cloud, and they both gasped at the absolute beauty of the scene in front of them. They hadn't realized how high up they were. Although still far away from the ice wall, they had a clear view into the kingdom. They saw many mountains and oddly shaped igloos, which they guessed was where the Icewing slept. And of course, in the very far off distance, Snowfall's palace. Before the kingdom, there was nothing except a large amount of snow, except towards the side of the continent, where a darkly colored beach sat quietly. Crystalline waters rushed and crashed against its cold, sandy shores. "Wow, this is incredible," Daniel said, almost breathless as he took in the glorious view. It's the most beautiful view I've ever seen," Star said, speechless. They both flapped their wings in place as they admired the view. But soon, Star spoke up. "Although we should probably head down to the beach soon. We stick out like the moons in the sky." Star pointed out. "If we admire this view for too long, we'll be spotted by Icewings for sure." Daniel hated to admit it, but she was right. He didn't want to leave such a beautiful place so soon, though. "But if I get caged up by Snowfall, I don't think I'll be seeing anything ever again. So I think we should go now." "Right, let's go," Daniel responded. He took one last look. The view. We love typos here that make us laugh. He took one last look. The view again. Once again. and mentally promised himself to come back again. He dived down towards the beach. He could have gone faster. However, he didn't want to leave Star in the dust, so he just flew at her place. Flew at her pace. My bad. It took a few minutes, but soon they both touched down on the not so warm and dry sand. It was a very uncomfortable sensation, but they both ignored it. Okay, so what do we do now? We've arrived at the layer of yellow and white. So now, how do we find this lock of rain and night? Star asked curiously. To tell you the truth, I really have no idea. These prophecies can be cryptic, so there's no telling what it means by what it says. Ah, I forgot that we had the best plan of all time to work this out, Star said sarcastically. Well, does the map say anything interesting? Let's check. Daniel reached into his pouch and took out the map. However, it wasn't the only thing that came out of the bag, as the bally song the gatekeeper had given him ended up catching a ride on the top of the map. The shining sapphire handles glinted in the sunlight before they fell off the thin paper map. The handles flipped around in the air before it very unrealistically opened itself up and stabbed into the sand, mere inches away from Daniel's talons. The knife came to a stop as the handles stood up like a flag. Daniel looked down at the extremely close call he had just had. Guess I should really be more careful with that. He went to pick it up, but Star beat him to it. She grabbed the handles in her talons and pulled out the knife from the sand, like it was some sort of special treasure. Hey, be careful with that, Daniel warned, but Star either ignored him or was too busy analyzing the weapon to pay attention. She placed... Sorry. She placed a claw on the sharp edge of the blade, and a small cut was made in the claw. The gatekeeper gave this to you, didn't he? Star said as she folded the blade back into its safe and secure position, with two talons before she carefully handed the weapon back. Yeah, he did. Like I said before. Daniel paused as he noticed something. Wait a minute. I never told you his name. How did you know? Star's eyes went wide, and that's what all Daniel needed to see. He quickly flipped open the blade in an almost threatening manner. Star flinched slightly as he did this, but she hid it well so Daniel didn't notice. Star, he started. Mm-hmm, she responded quietly, her voice a little shaky. Is there something you're not telling me? And that is the end of the chapter. Except for, as usual, the author's note at the very bottom. Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another one of my completely random updates, as I have absolutely no schedule at all. Once again, I'll be editing this tomorrow, so if you're here early, you may find some grammar and spelling errors. Anywho, besides that, I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and I'll be back with another one soon. Goodbye for now. Besides the funny little typos, I thought it was decent. Oh yeah, back here I'm sweating like awfully here. It's summer in Germany, so, and these dumb Europeans, they don't have AC units, or the place I'm staying at doesn't have AC units. All they have is radiators, so I had to buy an AC unit, but it doesn't work all that well. I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.